Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. I hope you are all well. Welcome to a new webinar with the topic Back in Control, Managing Unexpected Change. My name is Hiba Abbasi, and I would like to welcome you on behalf of the University of Manchester Middle East Center. Today, I'm very delighted to have our speaker, who's also an alumni, Jyothika Shetty. We're very delighted to have her with us. For those who don't know Jyothika's career spans over 2 decades with vast experience in the field of commercial banking, credit risk, and financial management. She has served as a credit control manager with BNP Paribas for 11 years, followed by over a decade as executive director in family-owned construction business in Dubai. She is a thorough professional with management and leadership experience for over 20 years. Jyothika is a passionate public speaker, Toastmaster, and an author of a book currently in progress with the title Back in Control. The book is about managing unexpected change and bringing back life into control. Jyothika has more than 7 years experience as a Toastmaster, mentoring, training, and delivering education sessions, including Leader in You series to Jashamal Corporate Head Office. She has also introduced Toastmasters and conducted roadshows in various corporate offices, including JP Morgan Dubai, Forts Education Group, and Isa Saleh Al Ghurg. Jyothika has been involved in several leadership roles, mentoring members to conquer their fear of public speaking. Also, she has guided and motivated them to take up leadership roles and lead from the front. She is a certified image consultant and a soft skill trainer. Her passion is to motivate as many people to come forward, to take charge, and be at the top of their game. She is passionate about topics such as leadership, mentoring, teamwork, emotional intelligence, and change management. Jyothika, we are very pleased to have you with us today, discussing the topic back in control and managing unexpected change at a time where we really didn't expect the change that we're going through, change through the way we do business, the way we learn and our children learn. Everything has changed. So today's topic couldn't be really more relevant, and we look forward to hearing more about it. How should we prepare for the future? How should we find opportunities in the future?
Thank you very much, Hiba. Indeed, I think this topic is more relevant in the present environment that we're going through, and probably I picked up the right topic to speak at this moment. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, and welcome to everyone present here as of now. It really gives me immense pleasure to be representing or speaking in my own university where I did my master's. Back in Control is a book, like Hiba mentioned, that is currently under process. I'm authoring this book, and the decision to author a book came somewhere in the year 2018. Now, when I decided to write a book, I was wondering what is the topic that I have to talk about. All I knew that I wanted to talk about my own experience that could probably motivate people. And at that time, I spoke to a few friends, and I discussed with them the rough idea of what I wanted to speak. It was basically about my own experience, how how everybody works hard in life and reaches a level of success. And when you reach that level of success, you meet or you get face to face with unexpected change, which could perhaps disturb your life or spiral it down in such a way that it's hard to handle. And then how exactly I mean, this is my personal experience, and how exactly or what exactly I did to get this life back in control. So when I discuss this with my friends, which I usually like to talk to my friends about this, I was surprised to see that each and every one had an experience to share. It's just that they didn't talk about it, and they were all in their own hole, black hole, and they thought it was not worth discussing. But each and every one resonated with the topic, and that is the time I realized that I think it's important that I write this book and come out with this particular concept. Fast forward 2020, I think we are in a situation that has actually brought the whole world face to face with unexpected change. And I think it's all the more relevant to discuss this topic. And that's why I'm going to talk about unexpected change and how you can bring your life back in control with a few changes that you could perhaps undergo. But before we begin, let's just talk about change. I'm sure all of us have gone through change in our life because change is an integral part of everyone's life. In fact, change is an integral part of the whole ecosystem. Look at this picture. This picture itself is a testimony that our life itself is filled with changes. From infancy to our old age, we go through a lot of changes. And changes cannot be separated from who we are. So when we talk about change, change is something that is required. It's a part of our living, and it's a part of the world that we are currently living in. So then next I thought, okay, let me just see the meaning of change. What exactly is the meaning of change? So I just went to the dictionary and directly picked it up from the dictionary. It simply says, change implies making either an essential difference, often amounting to a loss of original identity or a substitution of one thing for the other. What drew my attention was this particular sentence: loss of original identity or a substitution of one thing for the other, which means change, whatever the change is, whether it's positive or negative, there is an element where you lose your original identity or you substitute one form for the other, which means it's a transition from the present to the future with a certain loss in the form that you are in. And that's why they say probably that change is a bit uncomfortable because you are entering a zone that you do not know sometimes, and it has its own drawbacks and discomfort. So no change will come without any discomfort. I'm sure even growing up phases, we've faced our own discomfort, changes. Even for example, getting married itself has its own element of surprise and element different factors which we do not know, and that's why they say probably there is an element of discomfort when change happens. So is change necessary? Yes, change is definitely necessary because the world we are living in today is because of the change. When we talk about the primitive age to the modern era, it is because these changes have taken place. I mean, look at the wonderful inventions that has taken place: the electricity, the aircraft, the phone, the internet, whatever gadgets we're using today is because of the change. And therefore, change is imperative. It's an integral part of who we are and what we could become tomorrow. So then why do people resist change? We often hear people say that, I don't like change. In an organizational setup, we all have seen that change is something that people are very uncomfortable with. Let me take you back to my experience back I was working in a French bank about 11 years back. And at that time, we had a merger early 2000 with another big French bank to form one big name. And when this was taking place, my job was secured. There was absolutely no problems. But there was a lot of change that was going ahead of me, in front of me. I could see a lot of people who were relocated to different locations, and people who were nearing retirement were given a golden handshake. And at that time, while there was no reason for me to resist the change or even feel bad about it, I was totally petrified. I was seeing one after the other, my own colleagues whom I had built relationships with, good associations with, leaving the office one after the other. And this was new to me and I was not prepared. And at one point in time, I said, I do not want to live in this environment. Although it was a beautiful merger, they had taken care of everything. But what I felt is that the change that we faced within ourselves was our personal responsibility. We had to deal with it. So that change, what was going around me, was a resistance because I didn't know what was going on. We've often heard people say fear of the unknown. But when I actually was preparing this presentation, I dwelled into it and I said, okay, is it really the fear of unknown what people are worried about? Is that the reason why people resist change? Absolutely not. I was surprised to know that it's not the fear of the unknown that people resist change. People resist change because they think what they know about the unknown. People resist change because they think what they know about the unknown. Human psychology or human nature is such where human beings like to be in control. They want to be having clarity, they want to be in control and on the top of their game. But what happens when there's a big zone or an element of unknown factor which brings in a lot of which takes away the clarity and gives them a feeling of not being in control? And that is the time there's a lot of stories which are built up in that unknown zone, creating your own reality. And like they say, the strongest and the oldest emotion is fear. And the strongest and the oldest fear is the fear of the unknown. And it is because of this discomfort or the feeling of not being in control in the unknown zone is associated with an emotion called fear. Because we all know human beings are made up of emotions. Everything we do, everything we say is because of the certain stimulus that we go through because of all these emotions. And the decisions we make is based on the fear that we have. Based on the emotions that we have. And that's why anything that is not clear to us often has a reality which is created by our own mind, which somewhere is associated with fear. And that's the reason why people resist change. Now let's talk about what are the different changes we're talking about. As we all know, planned change is something which is, we all do it consciously, something that we have time to prepare and we are in control of. Now the results not necessarily is within our control, because not even if it's a planned change, the results may not necessarily be as per your desire. But at least the zones or the areas that you want to change is under your control. So planned change is something that you're aware of, something that you feel comfortable about. But the problem comes when you face an unexpected change. The change that is forced upon you by unforeseen events and circumstances. And what better than the present situation that we're going through itself is an unexpected change. And because this unexpected change, like I explained before, has a big zone of discomfort, no clarity, that creates stories which are scary, challenging, and you feel it's all of a sudden. And you start asking questions, why me? I'm sure the changes that we have gone through presently, there are a lot of people who are going through challenges in their job, in their personal life, in their financial problems. I'm sure the world over, everybody is going through something or the other. And that's because of the unexpected change. Before we proceed any further, let me just take a small, because I need to understand the kind of profile of the people that we have, the audience that we have today. So I'd like to just run a small poll where I'd like to ask, have you gone through unexpected change before? Not now, not what's going on now, as in the corona situation. I'm talking about any unexpected situation that you have gone through before. Hiba, can I request you to please run the poll?
Yes, Jyothika. So of course, we're not referring to the corona situation. We're referring to change that you have gone through
Yes.
before this time in the past.
Yes. Corona is something that is now an
It's really
unexpected
also
situation.
unexpected.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we'll see a few more votes coming in. Okay, so we have 83 said yes and
Okay.
17 said no.
Oh, very good. Okay, that's
We still have more people
83%.
voting. Yes, said yes.
Okay, 83% said yes.
Yes, 19% said no. Well, the lucky 19 who have not faced the unexpected change.
Oh, yeah, you're very lucky that you've not faced unexpected change. So probably this presentation will prepare you for any unforeseen circumstance that you may face. God forbid. I think we, but again, hey, unexpected change is something that will let you grow as well. So the 83% that say yes, which goes on to say that majority of us face unexpected change. And I think this
Yeah.
presentation becomes all the more relevant to you because unexpected change again has become the new normal perhaps. So anything that you plan may perhaps not be the actual change that you may see. It could also be an unexpected change that could just come into your life. So some of the changes, let's look at some of the causes of the unexpected changes. These are some of the changes, the causes that I could think of: divorce, job loss. In fact, I spoke about, when I started this presentation, I spoke about my experience when I spoke about my book with my friends. And at that time, initially, my book was keeping in mind women over 38, between 38 to 48. But when I spoke to people, men included, there was one of my friend who said that, and I didn't know about it. And one of my friends said that, yes, I can resonate with your story because I'm just going through a divorce, and it's really it's taken a big toll on me. So, which means to say, any of these reasons could actually spiral your life down and take it beyond your control. So health problems, debt, bankruptcy, wrong decisions. So I heard someone say the other day that she had an excellent job in one of the top companies in Dubai. She took a decision to move her job to a new organization, and this was way back in the year 2008, when the first Lehman Brothers recession took place. So at that time, when she had joined that organization, all of a sudden this entire financial crisis hit them so badly that she was asked to work more than she was actually designated or hired for, and the salaries were probably reduced, and she felt it was a wrong decision. Now, we really cannot call it a wrong decision, but there could be decisions which could make you to believe that they are wrong. Loss of loved one, this is something which is also a very important factor. This can also take a big toll on us. And again, a pandemic situation that we're seeing today is another. So these are some of the reasons. There could be more, but this is what I could think of. And then starts, when these things happen, then starts our favorite game, which is a stress game. We as human beings love to be in the zone. When there's a lot of when there's a lot of stress in our mind, naturally negativity creeps in. And negativity creeps in, resulting in a lot of stress, anxiety, uh, loss of appetite, loss of sleep, depression, a lot of these things. But we're not going to talk about those things, but it's just to touch upon that topic. And then you have a feeling of being stuck in a situation, especially when the situation is not within your control. There are so many today feeling that they are stuck. We've been asked to stay at home in a lockdown situation, and we feel stuck because we cannot move out freely. Now it's just been probably 1.5 months. So it's okay. People are still trying to see the silver lining. People are still trying to see the good over whatever situation is happening. But what if I say that this situation is going to continue for another 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year? Do you think our mental situation or our resilience will be at the same level as you have today? Probably not. We could all feel lost. We will definitely try to adjust with the new situation, but there would be a zone that you would feel that you are stuck in a situation that you do not want to be. And then you would want to feel, you want to blame the whole world except yourself, because that again is an emotion. You must have heard a lot of people saying, especially when you're in a situation when something unexpected happens, someone coming up to you and saying, hey, stay motivated, don't worry, you're strong enough, you'll do it well, you'll do it, you'll pass through it, this too shall pass. I have heard it umpteen number of times. But let me ask you a question. Do you think motivation alone will let you pass through a situation that you have no clue about? You have absolutely no clue of how to handle the situation. You're facing this for the first time. And if someone comes and tells me stay motivated, yes, motivation is an extremely important factor. But motivation alone won't help me in an externally imposed change. Because this is where I have to learn to lead my way through it and not just sitting hoping for things to happen. And even in an organization as a leader, when there is a change that is happening, you don't just motivate your team members, but you have to lead your way through. You have to set an example. You have to give them some tools that they can go through, and that could help them sail through the time. With me personally, when the changes took place, for example, my change that took place was I moved to India last year for some time, owing to certain reasons. Now, you've got to read my book for the reasons. Now, these reasons were, it came too early, even before I had even planned. It was a zone where I felt totally lost. I was not expecting this change to happen so fast. And I felt like blaming everyone but me. I tried to stay motivated. I tried to do everything, but I had to go through the emotions that I was going through. After going through these emotions, there was one tool that helped me get through my situation, and that was emotional intelligence. Like the picture clearly depicts, it is the balance between your heart and your mind. It is the balance between your heart and your mind. This is a concept that was actually introduced somewhere in the 60s, the mid 60s. But it was only popularized in 1995 by this famous author and psychologist, Daniel Goleman. Now, he's written a book on emotional intelligence. Not that I have read all of them, but when I faced it on a practical front, I realized the importance of emotional intelligence. Because this gave me the patience to actually dwell deep inside me, to understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling, and ask some really profound questions and redirect my energy in a way that would actually help me out. And that's why emotional intelligence is to be able to behave intelligently when one is emotional. In an organization front, I'm sure no one wants to work with a boss who is always stressed out, who does not know how to plan, who cannot give clarity to his team. No one wants to work with that boss. But someone who is able to balance the way he thinks, his reactions, turn it into more responsive behavior, that is a leader who sets himself apart. So, intelligent people are not those people who do not go through emotions. We all go through emotions. But intelligent people are those people who know what emotion to use when. So if you're doing something serious, you know what kind of emotions need to be eliminated at that point in time. So it's not ignoring your emotions, but going through your emotions, but choosing which emotion to use at what time. Talking about the concept of emotional intelligence, there are two aspects to it. One is understanding yourself, wherein you understand your own behaviors, your intentions. You try to study yourself more and bring in a much more calm attitude into yourself, where you study your intentions, your responses. And the second one is you understand others. Now, how many times, how many of us really have the patience to understand others? I think that's the least of our worries, to really understand others. And that's the reason we do what we do. We often end up in disagreements, in arguments. It's because we really do not care to understand the other person. But when we start to think on the shoes of the other person, we not only think, we also modify our behavior in a way that will bring in a much more positive outlook to the discussion, rather than taking it to a more negative outlook. So there are two aspects. One is understanding yourself, and the second one is understanding others. And that's why they say emotional intelligence sets apart good and effective leaders. Let's look at some statistics before we go any further, because statistics say a lot of things, and it has the power to convince as well. Now they say there's a research which is done in the US. It says 90% of top performers are high in EI. There is a study which was conducted by an organizational behavior expert. His name is Mark Murphy. He conducted a research on 20,000 new hires, right? And he found out that out of the 20,000 new hires, 46% of the people were either fired or disciplined during the first 18 months of their job. And 89% was because of their poor attitude, which included low emotional intelligence. And only 11% had to do with a lack of skill. And this brings back to, I mean, it takes me back to a question which was always in my mind, saying, we have to go through interviews, we have to go through a lot of questions, what the HR manager asks. I wonder what the questions are which is asked with the top CEOs of the company. Can you imagine? Do you think they ask questions like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What is your vision? How successful do you want to be? These are the questions which are not at all in the HR list or the interviewer's list. But the same study also revealed that what they seek in those top CEOs is their attitude towards failure. How well are they able to handle failures? Because failure is a part of any business. Failure and success is a part of any venture that you get into. But your ability to handle failure at that point of time, your mental resilience at that point in time, determines the decisions that you take. And that is what sets apart an effective leader. And surprisingly, 67% of the competencies essential to effective leadership is EI related. And that's a big number. 67% of the competencies essential to effective leadership is related to emotional intelligence. Now, this whole presentation is not about emotional intelligence. I'm just building up the tool that is required for you. Hiba, can you see my presentation?
Oh, I can.
Okay. So there are 5 elements that we look at when we work on our emotional intelligence. What we're actually working on is, 1, self-awareness, that is our own emotions, understanding why are we feeling the way we are feeling, able to control our emotions. Self-regulation, when you understand your own feelings and your emotions, you're also able to regulate it. For example, if someone comes and shouts at you and gets into an argument, you may also have the same emotion of anger. But being emotionally intelligent will help you to regulate it, control it, and not respond in the same manner. In the bargain, you're actually redirecting the conversation into a positive outlook. So that is the second pillar or the second element of emotional intelligence. The third is the motivation, which is again a big factor. It helps you to stay motivated for your long-term goals, while it's very hard to, especially when you're in a situation like unexpected change. It's very difficult to stay motivated, but being emotionally aware of yourself helps you to stay motivated. It improves your social skills as well, because social skills, often when we face unexpected change, I mean, take a job loss, for example. With the job loss also comes a lot of confidence related issues as well. You feel that the entire world is against you. I was the best performer. Why did the company decide to sack me? This was not it. But you rarely understand that if you face that particular situation, it doesn't mean that you withdraw from the society. You have to continue your social skills, which in fact will help you develop yourself in a much better manner. We'll talk about that a little later, but this is one of the social skill is something that emotional intelligence helps us to develop as well. And the fifth is the empathy. Empathy is understanding others and understanding why are they behaving the way they are behaving, which goes a long way in building relationships. Being empathetic, thinking, being in their shoes. So these are the 5 elements of emotional intelligence. When you work on that, you're sure shot going to improve these 5 elements. So when do you think you need to use this emotional intelligence? These are a few times where you can use your emotional intelligence. That is, when receiving and giving feedback, not to be critical, be a little more pragmatic in the way you speak. When you're facing challenging relationships, instead of making it worse, you can always bring in the factor of EI, where it will help you manage your relationships. Obviously, dealing with change and setbacks and failure. You're probably now wondering, what has EI got to do with setbacks and failures, right? I'll show you an example a little later, but this is where you can use your emotional intelligence. Now, before we proceed any further, let's have a small exercise that we can go through, because I'm sure you all are now wondering, am I emotionally intelligent? What is the acceptable level of emotional intelligence? So let's just go through a small test, which is basically a test where you'll answer 10 different questions. Now, the exercise or the drill is as follows, that when you read the question, you have 4 choices of answers. You read the answers, but the first thing that comes to your mind is what you have to answer. It is not the options. You don't think too much about it, but the first thing that comes to your mind will be your answer. All right. Let's go to the exercise. You'll have to just Hiba, can we just post this in the chat box, the link?
I posted the link on the chat box. All you need to do is try to access it from your phone or from your laptop. It's a set of questions, like Jyothika said, that you need to, don't dwell too much on the answers. Just try to read the question and click on the answer that you think this best suits you, but don't give it much thought. Just let it be your first instance. We're going to give you 5 minutes for this test. So try to take it, because Jyothika is going to analyze the results afterward. And this test will give you an indication of your level of emotional intelligence, so that you could understand if you need to work more on that aspect, perhaps read more books or get some advice. So let's start.
And I see some questions as well. I'll try to answer all your questions towards the end of the program, because I just don't want, or maybe we can, no, I think I'll answer it towards the end
to
of
take the test now. So
yeah,
so
exactly.
let
So
them focus on the test, and perhaps afterwards we can answer some questions.
We can answer questions.
So we'll just give it a few minutes. If you can you can't click on the link. Okay, somebody's saying that they cannot click. Let me share it again.
You have to just cut and paste the link in your browser.
Yeah, just copy and paste the link. Hossam, can you try to copy the link to the browser? And let me know if it works. If you click on the link in the chat box, it will take you directly to the website. Try to click on the link from the chat box, not from the questions section. Okay, so for those of you who are experiencing some problems, perhaps you can try to click on it at the end of the session. For those who are taking the test, you can carry on until we finish. Yes, tried, but it doesn't copy. Have you tried from the chat box? That if you click on the link from the chat box, it will take you straight away to the website. So I
This
know
is a
some
test.
people have taken the test.
Yeah.
Right, so I guess perhaps we can proceed. Some people have started to finish taking the test. I can see some messages. For those who were not able to access the test, this is the link. Perhaps you can take the test later, but now Jyothika will do the briefing.
All right. Okay. So let's move ahead with the analysis to interpret the results. I hope all of you have got the results in your hand right now. Just note down your scores. Those of you who've got 150 to 200, this means that your EQ is way up there. You really have a good EQ, and congratulations. And I'd like to clap for you. Doesn't mean I'm not going to clap for others as well. I'm going to clap for all. It only means that you are well adjusted. You understand what it is to be emotionally intelligent, and success can be yours if you want it. Which also means that you also have a responsibility to be consistent. It doesn't mean that you've got an IQ of 150 or 160 or 170, or EQ of 150, 160 or 170 means you can stop it there. You have to continue, keep continuing, and be persistent in your future behavior. 75 to 150 is an average score, which is very good. Clap to you again. You need to work on some areas though, and that you could do by learning to listening to yourself and others as well. So be a bit more patient with yourself and the others. Get into the idea of, understand the idea of the importance of being patient, calm, and listening to yourself, listening to your emotions. And the last is below 75. Here you have to work a little bit more on yourself. You need to indulge a little bit more on your soul searching. So probably you need to deep dive a little bit instead of keeping yourself on the surface. Maybe you need to, how I can interpret this is, people who want to get things done, a lot of things, and who believe in meeting deadlines and just want to get things done, usually do not have the time to deep dive into their own self. So this only means that you need to give more time for yourself, do some serious talking with yourself, and understand why are you the way you are. Now, if probably you all are wondering what's an acceptable level, in this particular study, if you go to the Google, you'll have a lot of things that it says. What is the acceptable level? Usually they say is between 90 to 100, but I think anything over 75 is still a good score. Organizations, large organizations, look for people with EQ level of 110. A EQ level of 110, and anything over 160 is supposed to be magnificent. But anyway, I think we're all human beings. We're learning, and I think an average score is good enough for you to keep working on yourself and get better. If you're below 75, please take more time to spend with yourself and be kind to yourself. All right. Now let's move forward. Now, when I'm saying you'll have to improve and work on yourself, you're also probably wondering, how can I do that? How can I work on myself? Here are a few ways that you can think of. Like I said, reflect on your emotions. Ask for others' perspective, because usually we like to think, there are people who like to think that their perspective is what prevails. It's not true. Often other perspectives are also sometimes very valuable. Be observant, pause, ask a lot of whys, and explore these whys. Why did it happen? Why did it happen to me? What could have happened better? What is it that is better in this particular situation? Now, when someone criticizes you, we all usually take offense. Instead, ask, what can I learn from this situation? Because in life, if you get into the habit of learning, you'll have a lot to learn. But if you think there is nothing, you know all of it, then you're closing your doors for progress. So in every situation, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And the last one, practice, practice, and practice. These are the three things that you have to do no matter what. Now, so far I've spoken about the emotional intelligence, the unexpected change in the emotional intelligence. Now let's look at how to apply in an unexpected situation. Assuming you've understood you faced the unexpected situation, I've given you the tool, but how do you actually apply it? It's easy said than applying it, right? But before that, let's look at this quadrant. There are 4 quadrants here, and which is an easily explained quadrant to explain the journey of unexpected change. When there's an unexpected change, it all starts with denial. You know it's coming. There is a situation that you see is coming, or maybe you do not know, that there's a situation, but you're always in denial that you are in the best of situation, right? This is what we all do. We live in denial and we don't like change. And when actually the situation takes place and it hits us, the reality hits us on the face, there comes the quadrant of resistance. You're resisting change. You do not want to change. You're resisting. Why did it happen to me? Instead of moving forward, you're resisting, which gives birth to a lot of other issues like depression, anger, and a lot of other emotional issues. Now, if you want, you can remain in this particular quadrant for a very long time, and the choice is yours, because that is going to lead to a lot of other complications. So the two quadrants on my left is the danger zone. And you see the small bridge that is there, which is the letting go zone. Now, this is where you apply the tool of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is that bridge which will help you move from the danger zone to the opportunity zone. And at the right-hand side, when you let go, when you start understanding, when you deep dive into yourself, you start thinking of how can I get positive in this situation? And you start exploring. And exploring with a lot of positivity, you start believing in staying positive than negative. Let me give you a small example. Recently, what happened to me. In this situation of lockdown, 3 weeks back, my mother fell down. She had a very big fall and she broke her arm. If it was me 1 year back, I would have cribbed, I would have I would have complained, and I would have been so unhappy with the situation because I had no help at home. I had to do everything, take care of my mom, take care of my children, and all of that. But then this time, I was surprised with myself because I was practicing EI for the past few months. And people came up to me and said, "Oh my God, this is the wrong time for this to happen." So all I replied was, there is no time, wrong or right, for anything to happen. All I'm happy is that mom has broken her left shoulder, and I hope, and I'm glad it is not the leg together with that. Imagine a situation where her leg and hand both had to break, it would have been worse. This is going to pass. 3 weeks more, stay positive, and it's going to work out well. 3 weeks went in a jiffy. I was in action. I did everything I could. And the beautiful thing what happened is that I was so glad that I got the opportunity to serve my mom. And I'm not saying this just for the sake of saying, but this is the happiness that I got. And this is my little way of bouncing back and realizing that I had developed my emotional intelligence. So I started exploring possibilities of how I could make this situation happy. And when you start exploring, you get excited with your own life. It's now time to stop getting excited with others' life and getting inspired with others' life. It's time to get inspired with your own life. And that is where you start accepting. And the journey between exploration and acceptance is a beautiful journey. Because then you come in with very strong commitment that will help you achieve everything you want to achieve. So this is the 4 quadrant, the journey of unexpected change, which is said in explained in very simple words. Let's get forward. Let's move forward. Now this is a picture which some of you must have seen. In fact, this picture was shown to me when I was doing my MBA with Manchester by one of my professor. He asked us to actually tell us the meaning of this picture. And at that time, I had no clue what he was showing me. But then what he explained to me, I'm so glad I can use the same analogy today, because at the face of it, you see an iceberg on the top of above the surface of the sea. And I would like to see this iceberg as the challenges, because I've now faced the unexpected change and I see this challenge ahead of me. But because I chose to be emotional intelligent and work on those skills, it gave me the tools or the ability to deep dive into this area, into the surface. And when I deep dive, I saw an entire iceberg of benefits that was 10 times or maybe 100 times more than the challenges that was visible to me at the surface of the same. And this is exactly what emotional intelligence does. It helps you to deep dive into a situation and find those benefits which often under normal circumstances seems to be a mammoth task and filled with challenges. So talking about the benefits, obviously, when you go into your your mental resilience and you deep dive into yourself, you also grow as a person emotionally and physically. It helps you believe that it's a new beginning and the old has to end. And that reminds me or brings me back to my book, Back in Control. Back in Control is not about getting back my old life. Sorry, getting back my old life. It is getting back into control, creating a life for myself that is even better than before. It develops your mental resilience, which goes without saying. Your mental stability is something that is very important, and it helps you to sail through the uncomfortable and unfamiliar situation and makes life far more exciting. So how do you move forward from there? Now we are all in a situation which is unexpected. There are a few exercises that you have to do. Dig deep into yourself because you are a wealth of knowledge. You can only answer your own questions. So dig deep. Recreate your life's purpose. Your purpose can be anything and everything, but understand what your purpose is. Do you have a purpose in life for which you are trying to do all what you've done, or even trying to do what you want to do in the future? So try to recreate your purpose. Embrace change, because without embracing change, there's no moving forward. Be open to possibilities. Now, let me tell you this. Often we start with a plan in place, right? And it's not necessary that plan functions or happens, you achieve the plan as per or you achieve your purpose as per the plan. Along the way, you may find different possibilities which could actually help you achieve your purpose, which doesn't mean that you have to stick to your original plan. You can always be flexible. So that's the reason you need to be open to possibilities, because every road leads to another road. Do not resist. That's the last one. So once you've done this and you've understood, deep dive, and found you've reconciled yourself and balanced your mind with yourself, there are a few steps that you consciously need to take. But these steps, you do not really need to consciously work on it, because this is again a journey that you go through. All you have to do is allow yourself to go through these changes. The first is accept. I'm not saying that you do not experience the emotions that you're going through. If you've been through a trauma, accept what's going on. Go through those changes. Accept the situation, what has happened, because you cannot deny the situation. Accept the reality. Acknowledge the emotions that you're going through. If you're feeling an emotion of anger, jealousy, you're comparing yourself to someone, don't judge yourself. Accept that this is a normal emotion that you're going through and acknowledge it. Go through all the emotions which are meant to go through, all right? Because we are at the end of the day human beings, not super people, right? Assess the various options that you have. This is a stage when you have to start thinking in a positive sense. You move from negative sense to the positive sense, where you ask a lot of questions. Why? Why did this happen? Well, not why did this happen? How could I make this better? What is a better way of doing this? Ask those questions which can help you assess your options that you have in front of you. Act. Most of the time, we like to have a mask in front of us. We do not like to show what we are. We like to be happy when we are sad. We like to be sad when we are happy. And no, we don't do that. But you want to show a face which is not probably the reality. So act in an appropriate manner, because that is needed. You need to stay grounded. So it comes with a lot of patience. Have patience and be motivated. So act appropriately. Last but not the least, ask. If I threw a poll now saying how many of you actually take help when it's required, I'm sure most of us don't do this. We don't like to ask and tell people that we are going through what we're going through. I'm not saying you have to discuss with everyone, but trust those people whom you can go and discuss, have some heart to heart talk. And this is where I would also like to say, keep your network alive. I earlier touched upon the topic when I said that when you face a situation which puts you in a very demotivating environment, you often like to withdraw. But this is the time you actually have to keep your passion alive. Continue doing what you were doing earlier. Don't discontinue it. If you're passionate about something, continue it. If you like doing something, do it. Talk to people. In fact, this is the time you have to build your network and not break or cut your network, cut short your network. So these are the 5 simple steps which you don't have to really make an effort to follow these steps, but you have to make an effort to actually understand these steps well so that you can behave in an appropriate manner. So these are just the write-ups of what I've just mentioned. So I'm not going to go through it again. We've just gone through it. A few pearls of wisdom that I've already, this is through my experience. Let your experience be your game changer. Most of us don't like to talk about our experience, but you never know. Your experience could be someone else's motivation. And that's exactly what I did. When unexpected changes happened to me, I decided to write a book. I even decided before that, but those experiences has been a game changer for me, or perhaps will be a game changer for me going forward. Second, the most important thing, don't be in a rush to get back in control. Human nature is such that we love to be in control and we just find a way to just be in control. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay sometimes to lose control for a short period of time. But then when you heal, you'll find your way back in control. Like I said, pursue your passion. Please do not allow others' perception to be your reality, because that again is the reality we create in our mind, that what others want us to think. So let your own reality, your own perception be your reality, which has to be a well thought perception. Be positive, pursue your change proactively, and the most important thing, choose faith over fear. Please continue having faith in whatever you believe in, and faith is something that can help you sail through this entire trauma or this phase in a very positive manner. So faith is very important. It's very important to be flexible with changes. Sometimes routine changes, it's fine, so what? Just ask yourself, what is the same for me? When I moved last year, my husband and I asked ourselves, what is it that has not changed for us? And we discovered there was everything that has not changed for us. It was such a revealing factor. And we felt that things got better for us because we had put our plans into action. You can still control some of the things. So ask yourself, what else can I control? This is just a psychological factor to just let yourself know that you're still in control. At the end of the day, it is the route that has changed and not your destination. So changing the route does not mean that your destination has changed. Like I said, my book, Back in Control, is moving forward to creating an amazing life and not struggling to get your old life back. Because moving ahead is what is important, and the name of the game. Like Charles Darwin says, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And it's so true indeed. This is another important test, which I'm not going to take now, but probably you could take it once we finish this session. This is to understand how ready are you towards change, for change. So this is a very good test, which will give you 7 different areas with their scores, which will help you understand which area you need to improve. So if you have some time and the inclination to do it, please go through this test. I request Hiba to please post this link onto the chat box so that they can copy it from there. And if you're interested, you can please go through it. It's really interesting. It'll really tell you how important, how ready are you for change. And at the end of the day, nothing is impossible till the time you want to make it possible. with that, I finished my presentation, and I think let's
Take
wrap
some
up the session with, yes, take some questions.
few questions. I know that we past our time, but let's see if we have some questions. So can unexpected change be positive as well, or is it always referred to as negative outcome?
Absolutely not. In fact, there is no positive or negative in unexpected change. Sometimes changes happen for your good, which could be not what you think. But what is important here is for you to make it positive or negative. So unexpected change is a change. It's definitely out of your comfort zone. You don't know what's happening. At the face of it, it seems to be uncomfortable and negative. But if you deep dive into the situation, you can always make it positive.
Somebody's asking what's the relation between emotional intelligence and being able to control yourself. I think it's we've gone through that.
Yeah, we've gone through that.
Self-control, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Iba.
Let me see if there's any other questions. What is the best thing to cope with unexpected change? If it was one thing, what would it be?
What is the best thing to cope?
To cope with unexpected change.
Well, I
Perhaps
think first,
referring mechanism, what's the first thing? Perhaps accept it?
acceptance. It all starts with acceptance. Till the time you're not able to accept the situation, it becomes extremely difficult for you to move forward.
Yeah.
So I think it all starts with acceptance.
So if you have any questions, just type them in the chat box. I know that the time for the session has ended, but we can take a few questions. How do we assess ourselves during the downtime?
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, please do not get into assessing yourself in terms of judging yourself. All right. The moment you box yourself and say that this is what I'm feeling, this is why it happened, this is the mistake I have done, and this is I shouldn't have done it, it's an endless list. So do not try to get into a situation where you try to jump into a conclusion. What has happened has happened. You need to assess your situation as to how ready you are to handle that change. Have a progressive thinking. Look forward every time you want to do some, when you face a change. All right.
They're asking also, thanks for the presentation. In these challenging times, will emotional intelligence be important versus IQ? And what are other technical requirements?
Well,
So
you would
will
be
emotional,
surprised.
yeah.
Well, you would be surprised to see and know that there was a time when a lot of importance was given to IQ. But now you would see that organizations, that's why I said 67% of the competencies in leadership refer to emotional intelligence. And that is because organizations have understood this, that it's not the IQ that is, obviously IQ is required, your knowledge and all that is required, but what keeps the organization successful is your ability to handle those challenges, handle your team, motivate your team, take the and be a new generation leader, for which EQ is definitely required.
Yeah, there's a question here also. He's thanking you for the presentation and he's asking, how does, where did that question go? Just a second. So how does one feel the emotion clearly without having it come back? Perhaps, assessing, understanding the emotion, name it to
Yeah.
tame it. That's what I like to say.
For which this is not a one-day's job. Now, Rome was not built overnight, right? Similarly, emotion is probably a journey of so many years that you've been in this world, and it takes a lot of time to overcome. You cannot. It comes through practice. It's a journey. You'll have to consciously make an effort to work on your emotions, understand it, be vulnerable, cry, get back those emotions again, which you thought you had left back, because I've gone through the same. There were emotions that I went through. There were times when I have cried, and after some time I felt hale and hearty, and then I said, it's coming back again. But that's over a matter of time that you work on it. So we all are vulnerable as human beings. If I think in the present time we all have understood that there's no one more vulnerable than this being called human, right? So it's okay
Absolutely.
to be vulnerable, it's okay to feel the way you are, but please continue working on it, right? Continue working on it and doing what you're doing. Your association with people is a lot more important. Please don't do it alone, because you need to interact with people when you're going through this journey.
So another question from Mohan, he's asking, what is the difference in between judging and evaluating ourselves? And does judging mean coming to a conclusion and not moving forward?
Well, I think when you're judging, you become too harsh on yourself. I don't like this word judging, because judging means you're giving a statement or a decision on someone. Life is not that where you need to give a decision or a conclusion on someone's capabilities. Things change. What you were 10 years back is not what you are today. And you're not going to be the same after 10 years or even 1 year from now. Have a progressive mentality. I would say take the judging part of it out. Don't even get into the area of understanding why I did that. I'm bad, I'm good, assessing yourself. Just consider yourself as a student of this universe. When you consider yourself as a student and open to learning, you will be like a sponge which will absorb all the information that you have, be able to assess it, see what suits you, because not everything will suit you. One size doesn't fit everyone, and be able to take those emotions that help you, right? So always have the progressive thinking of moving forward. Yeah.
We can take the last question. They're asking if you can recommend any books to read to improve emotional intelligence.
Well, there are a lot. Like I said, Daniel Goleman itself has written a lot of books on emotional intelligence. I think that's the reason it became very famous in the year 1995, I think. And you have this gentleman called Mark Murphy as well, who has written a lot of books. I think it is hard. I forgot the name. But if you go online, you'll see a lot of books. But I think Daniel Goleman is one person who has written who's done a lot of good work on emotional intelligence, and you can take those books, what he has written, definitely.
All right, one last question, and I promise it's the last one. So how does one circle the choice in the readiness assessment? It's not happening through the mouse. Oh.
Readiness is the change readiness, you mean?
The change readiness.
Okay, what circle?
How do you circle the choice? I think how to select the choice. Maybe we should go to the test.
You'll have to change readiness.
She has to print it.
It's a PDF file, actually. I can go through it if you want, but I don't know if we have enough time to do that.
Unfortunately, the time is over, but Suniti, you will need to print it and circle it, and then, or take a record of it so that you can do the calculations.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a calculation in the way you have to do the scores, so that'll exactly give you the scores that you have, that you get. Is that okay?
They started taking the test, I believe. That's fine. But thank you so much. Anyway, if you have any questions and you want to reach out to Jyothika, she's available you can reach out to us. You can reach out straight to her on LinkedIn. And would you like to recommend any other platforms where they can reach you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn as Jyothika Shetty. And my email, I think you can always write. My email is.
Write to me.
Just type it in the chat box.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, you can reach out directly to Jyothika.
Yes.
You can email us and we can connect you.
Yes.
Uh, thank you so much, Jyothika, for the session. It was
Thank you.
really very insightful and I know personally, emotional intelligence and change is one of my favorite topics, which I can talk about also endlessly. So this came right in place and right in time when we all needed it. So thank you very much. And we look forward to reading your book, Back in Control. When do you
Yes.
think that would be out?
It will be published in the last quarter of this year. I know I'm running behind schedule because of all the changes, unexpected changes that happen. But I think last quarter, beginning last quarter of this year, I think I should be able to publish it. And
Well,
I will
good luck with
definitely
the
send you a
book.
copy. Thank you. Thank you very
We look
much.
forward to reading it. And I just like to end the session by thanking you all for taking the time to listen to us. And I'll just leave you with this quote. And I would like you to also think about it. This quote is by the French novelist Marcel Proust. He said, "The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." So with this, I leave you all. I thank you, Jyotika, for the session. I
Thank
thank you all for attending it, and we look forward to hosting you again and to seeing you again in our future webinars. Thank you all for taking the
thank you.
time, and I wish you all a good evening. For the fasting ones, I wish you a happy
Ramadan
iftar.
Kareem. Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan
Yes.
Kareem also for all of us and for the ones who are fasting and celebrating. And we'll see you soon in our future webinars. So thank you all, and
Thank you.
thank you, Jyotika. We'll see you soon.
You're
Thank you.
welcome, Hiba. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye bye.